Okay, so good afternoon, you two. Today I want to talk about a fight that happened last weekend. I know I'm a little bit late on the post-fight reaction. It's only due to the fact that I've been one, I've been busy. Two, I've been interested to read some people's reactions to the fight in the boxing world over the last week, and I've also watched the fight back a couple of times, just because I thought it was a great fight. Probably the best world title fight that I've seen this year. So, going on with the fight itself, before I actually go into obviously what happened, but big credit for John Pascal, really. The reason I say that is because in my pre-fight video, I should say, I kind of said that I would expect John Pascal to be his usual self, a little bit lazy and lackadaisical in the ring at times. Doesn't look like his heart's in it, and just lays it on his opponent the last 30 seconds of the round. But in stark contrast to that, John Pascal was the total opposite. He looked up for the fight. He looked really motivated and fired up, and he was genuinely working through the rounds from round one onwards, which is something I've not seen John Pascal do on a consistent basis probably since the Carl Froch fight. So big up John Pascal for that. He really did give it a go. Showed plenty of heart and grit. And did expose Kovalev a few times as well. Let's not forget that. Okay, so just with that little bit of praise for John Pascal out of the way, going into the fight itself, it was a start that could have been expected really. A little bit cautious with the occasional right hand being thrown by both guys. Although I think it was safe to say that Sergey Kovalev, apart from the opening round, which I thought was pretty even, Sergey Kovalev was dominating the opening proceedings. Especially up until the point, of course, when he landed the big shots towards the end of round three. John Pascal was probably in the most serious trouble in the boxing ring we've ever seen him in his professional career at that point. Going into round four, I think we all, or most people, were kind of expecting Sergey Kovalev to go on and stop John Pascal right there and then. I think the only thing that you could say about that round four is credit to John Pascal for getting his head together very quickly, getting over the knockdown, surviving the round. And then in rounds 5 and 6, I had to score both rounds for John Pascal. I really thought he was coming into the fight, coming into his own. And he was, the most important thing is after taking those big shots at the end of round 3 and at the end of round 3, going into round 4, taking the big shots off Kovalev, he actually started to time Sergey Kovalev and getting him to walk onto his own big shots, which is the first time I think we've ever really seen Sergey Kovalev being put in that position. I mean, I know people could make the argument that Hopkins lasted longer and this and that, but no one's took Sergey Kovalev and timed him like that before, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So that was good to see from a competitive boxing point of view. The result surprised me. The stoppage was a good stoppage by the referee. John Pascal can stand there and say, I don't know why it was stopped and all he wants, and in the heat of his ego and his bravado. But let's be honest, he was pretty out on his feet by that point. He was on shaky legs, and I think the referee was in more than his own right to stop the fight. Although the one thing that I didn't like is Sergey Kovalev's corner, like when Pascal was in that corner, and then the guy's wiping, and he kind of trips and slips Pascal over into the corner and makes him look a little bit worse. And I could kind of see that as interfering. Don't get me wrong, Pascal was hurt. There's no doubt about that. Pascal could have been stopped right there and then. I don't think it makes an actual difference in the long run of the fight. But when a guy is on shaky legs in a corner, especially in your opponent's corner, and then their trainer or whatever's wiping the floor around him and getting under his feet a little bit, and then that kind of forced Pascal to move over into the other corner. I mean, what's that all about? So I didn't like that. I'm not sure whether that was just they were trying to help him because there's a lot of water on the floor and they were mopping up. But it looked to me like they was trying to help him trip up and make him look worse, make him look like on even dizzier legs than he actually was. So I'm not quite sure what was going on there. I'm not sure if anybody else picked up on that, but that kind of head-scratching moment, especially when the British team that was doing the commentary said, "Oh, look him in that corner. He slipped out. He didn't slip out the corner. He was in a bad way though. He was in a bad way. Like I say, the fight should have been stopped already at that point. There was no point, absolutely ever, Pascal having to take those last 2 big shots from Kovalev before the referee did stop it. There was no point at all. Going into more detail about the post-fight reaction of a lot of people. A lot of people are there saying, oh, wasn't too sure about Kovalev going into this fight. He's definitely proved himself as a boxer. Like, hold on a minute. Really? Like, Kovalev was already on my pound-for-pound top 10 list going into this fight. He already was. He was number 10. Right? He's just... In his last fight before Pascal, he's just outboxed a fighter in Bernard Hopkins that outboxes most people and makes people look bad in the process. And yet Kovalev not only did not look bad in that fight, but made himself look amazing outboxing Bernard Hopkins. No one does that. Whether Bernard Hopkins is 50 or whatever, it doesn't matter. No one has ever done that to Bernard Hopkins, and Kovalev made it look easy. Right? So why are people going into the Pascal fight saying, oh, it's going to be a close fight. I don't expect I don't expect Kovalev to be able to outbox Pascal very efficient. I'm like, nah, I don't understand. I really don't understand. See, my opinion of Kovalev was high before the Pascal fight. I described John Pascal as a lazy, orthodox Adonis Stevenson with not as much power in his punch. And that's the way I still see it, to be honest. Even though Pascal surprised me and he showed a lot of heart and he showed some great timing skills through rounds 5 and 6, it is what it is. He didn't have the power to really give Kovalev any real problems. I mean, I know Kovalev was stunned a couple of times, but when I say stunned, I mean, he took a couple of big shots and it was about a second, maybe 2 seconds, and he was fine. It was just like a, ugh. And then he was back with it. Not one point was Kovalev really, really backed up or in trouble at all. So I don't understand why people would say that. My opinion of Sergey Kovalev was very high going into the John Pascal fight, and it doesn't make no difference. It was an impressive performance yet again, and I still rate Sergey Kovalev very highly. I still believe he will be the king of the light heavyweight division. I don't see Adonis Stevenson stopping him or outboxing him. Never say never in boxing, of course. The only thing I would say about Adonis Stevenson going into the Kovalev fight is, of course, we know, it's Stevenson's style, the shaky southpaw, as it were. Like Stevenson's kind of got that arrogant stance. The way he holds his left hand, he holds it like, okay, when I throw this, I'm going to hurt you, but it's my choice when I'm going to throw it. He's got that kind of arrogance with his left hand, and what that left hand also does in a lot of his fights is when his opponents are starting to get in their rhythm or get behind their jab and really get into their game plan, is that Stevenson's just got this ability to just throw that left hand out of nowhere and not only give his opponent something to think about with that left hand, but more importantly, throw his opponent off their game plan or throw his opponent out of their rhythm. That's the one thing I think about Adonis Stevenson that impresses me the most. He has got that ability just to change the course of a round or change the course of a fight with that one punch. But Sergey Kovalev's got that too, just not in that same style. So you can look at this going in. We've got to see Adonis Stevenson versus Sergey Kovalev this year. It's a fight that has got to happen. No doubt about that. I know Stevenson's fighting Saki Obika. I can't really see Stevenson having any problems there. So if this fight does happen later in the year, like it should do, what's going to happen is I think both guys will land big bombs on each other, but I really do think that the bombs will have more effect on Stevenson as the fight goes on. And I can see Stevenson a bit like similar to the Fonfara fight, kind of, having a lull in the fight. Not gassing out as such, but having a lull. And then when that lull happens, Sergey Kovalev's kind of the fighter that fights at one pace and, likes to fight at his own rhythm. And if Sergey Kovalev is allowed to do that by Adonis Stevenson, then when that lull happens, I can see Kovalev flattening him. So I would kind of expect the fight to go a similar way to the way the Pascal fight has just gone this past weekend. The only hope I would give for Adonis Stevenson is I think he is slightly faster than Sergey Kovalev at getting his hands off. So that's one thing that he can play to his advantage. Of course, his southpaw stance, if he uses that correctly, he could give an orthodox fighter like Kovalev quite a few nightmares. And just that left hand, if he throws that left hand and he times Kovalev, like Pascal was timing Kovalev in the 5th and 6th rounds last weekend, Kovalev has now proven to us that he can box, but he can be hit flush. So has Stevenson got that timing ability to be able to land those flush shots on Kovalev? Because one thing is for sure, is Stevenson hits a lot harder than Pascal and hits a lot harder than Kovalev would have been hit before in the professional ring. So you can give Adonis Stevenson a lot of hope. I think it would be a great fight. I think it could have the potential to be a barnstormer, and it's a fight that I really want to happen sooner rather than later, because I really do want to watch that fight. As for anybody else in the light heavyweight division right now, there's a bit of talk about Bramer, who's the WBA World Regular Light Heavyweight Champion. Don't really understand why. Jürgen Bramer was a fantastic amateur. He beat quite a few really talented boxers in the amateurs, including Britain's own Carl Froch. So, no disputing that Bramer is a talented fighter, but has he really got the chin or the power or the skill to mix it in with a Kovalev or an Adonis Stevenson? In my opinion, no. I mean, he was given, he struggled to put Enzo Macronelli away, where Macronelli had an eye. You can see the pictures, like his eye's out here. He's fighting with one eye, and Jürgen Bramer's still not really laying it on him, or giving him as much trouble as you thought he would trouble. I mean, I know that's only one fight to judge, but what I'm saying is, Jürgen Bramer, if you're going to say that he's the number 3 in the light heavyweight division right now, just based on the fact that he's got, a world title, not a big world title, of course, but a world title, then I think maybe you need to look at Bramer's fights, and I think you need to look at the caliber of opposition that he's fought, and his style, most importantly, because he's fighting a guy next in Krasniqi. I would expect him to get past Krasniqi. If he doesn't get past Krasniqi, then he's certainly not the number 3 in the division. That goes without saying anyway. But let me know what you guys think. Like I say, just to round off, I don't rate Sergey Kovalev any higher than I did before the Pascal fight, because I already thought he would win the Pascal fight, whether it went to points or whether he did stop him, although I didn't think Pascal would get stopped, so I had to give Kovalev credit for that, because Pascal is a tough cookie. Credit to Pascal for his performance. He really showed me a lot. His best performance in terms of activity and consistency in rounds since the Carl Froch fight years ago. And, onwards and upwards for both guys. There's a ridiculous rumour going around that John Pascal might be fighting Stiverne at heavyweight. If that's the case, that's his own death wish. Going up 2 weight classes to heavyweight is just ridiculous. But, good luck to him if he decides to do that. As for Sergey Kovalev, I would assume he's going to fight a mandatory or a voluntary some point between now and the end of the summer, with a view to fighting Adonis Stevenson later this year in the autumn or the winter. So we'll see what happens. Thanks for watching. Leave me a comment.